So in this episode of Locally Owned, we're going to be talking to Dr. Navi Badesha. He's a co-founder and owner of Mediworks and Drip Lounge. Now, Mediworks and Drip Lounge is really close to my heart. 2 years ago, got into some serious health issues, and I went to normal doctors and MDs and stuff, and nobody could fix me. I came to these guys. Dr. Navi Badesha literally did an entire natural test and kind of crazy things that he did. We're going to talk about all of that during this entire Locally Owned episode on how to deal with what everybody's going through right now during the pandemic, and that's a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, because 2 years ago when I was in this situation, I was literally stressed out to my max. That's why we're here, because he helped me locally. If you're watching this in Vancouver, this is the only naturopath that I trust, and I went to a handful of naturopaths before coming here. So let's go in and meet Dr. Navi. So as you guys have seen in the intro of this video, we are actually going to be talking to a human, a gentleman, and a doctor that actually helped me in 2018 when I went through some crazy health experiences. Dr. Badesha, thank you for joining us on Locally Owned.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Dr. Badesha has been here at Mediworks and Drip Lounge. We're going to be talking about Drip Lounge in a minute. Before, as you guys know in every single episode we shoot, before we get into it, we want to know kind of the background. How did you get into naturopathic work and your background? Why don't you introduce yourself and kind of roll into that?
Yeah, sure. My name is Dr. Navi Badesha. I've been a naturopath for 15 years. Was in pre-dentistry at UBC. Wrote my dental aptitude test, was gonna go that route. Ran into a couple of friends that went and saw naturopaths, and they were talking really highly about naturopathic doctors. I honestly didn't even have a clue what a naturopath was. And just coincidentally, at the same time that I was having these discussions, there was a new school that opened up in New Westminster. So I just on a whim applied, got in. And in my third year at UBC, I actually transferred from UBC into Naturopathic Medical School. We do blood draws, we do IVs, there's a lot of injection therapies that we do. So that's actually what kind of drew me to the profession, is the fact that we have all these different tools at our disposal. First few years were a struggle, and I doubted my choice. I'm like, man, why did I get into this? But since then, man, like over the last probably 8-9 years, we've been really, really busy with the practice.
Yeah.
Moved out of Newton to this location about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then opened up the Drip Lounge. As you can see, it's inside the Mediworks.
Drip Lounge, yeah. It's
Yeah.
a partnership, right?
Partnership, yeah, with my friend Raj Admi.
Yeah.
And we're expanding into Burnaby now, so things are going really well.
So we'll get into the business side of things. So like, since obviously 15 years of doing this profession, you've probably seen a lot of cases, different types of cases, right? Completely different from like the regular MD world. Why did you continue on in the early days versus just go and say, screw it, I'm gonna give up and go back to dentistry?
No, man, because it's 8 years of my life that I committed to educating myself and becoming a naturopath.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to just walk away.
Yeah.
Right, and my mentality is such that I'm gonna work at it. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
And then probably my biggest breakthrough was when I got asked to come on Red FM, and I was a regular guest on a morning show. Yeah. And after that, the floodgates opened, and everyone in Surrey found out about me. Most of what we see and deal with are patients that have gone through the conventional medical system. They're on tons of medications. Nobody's been able to help them, and then they end up at a door like help.
Yeah. And that's kind of like when I opened the episode, I talked about it because in 2018 when I first came to see you, I'd gone through everything in the regular medical system, and it's like in our culture, it's like our parents tell us, just go to the doctor, fix it, go to the doctor, fix it. No doctor could fix it. And it got to a point where I had to do my own research and found out after talking to a bunch of people that you were the go-to guy. And I was like, since then, it's like I've been coming, 2.5, almost 3 years now, coming to you consistently. People are kind of still a little bit jaded, even though the industry's been around for a long time. What are your early stages, or even now looking back at it, what would you wish you did a little bit differently from a personal side? Because we'll talk about the business in a second.
So, that radio program was all about educating people about naturopathic medicine. We would pick a topic. I remember doing talks at local libraries for 5 people.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, I go up there and talk about random stuff like fish oils, and there'd be 4 people in the audience.
But people would have loved that, because those people that slowly started to attract it. Now, so as you got into it, you built the companies, you've got Mediworks on one side, you've got Drip Lounge on one side. Let's transition over to the business, because early days you were in a chiropractic office, now you've got this location 4 years. So let's go chat about that. Sure. As you guys saw in the early part of this entire episode, we talked about, Dr. Badesha's early start into being a naturopath.
When I Left the chiropractic clinic. I actually spent 1 year as the head naturopath at a clinic in Richmond.
Yeah.
Just on salary plus commission, and I didn't like it. I'm like, I was at that point and had enough clients, enough patients that I could actually go out on my own.
Yeah.
And when I went out on my own, I decided, we had a bunch of different names.
Let's find something.
Yeah. And my wife and I settled on Mediworks. I started actually transitioning from your traditional naturopathic medicine clients to aesthetic medicine.
Okay.
Because at that time, our college included aesthetics in our scope of practice. So then after we got certified, naturopaths were able to do aesthetic medicine like cosmetic injectables, Botox, fillers. So I kind of went that way because, it allowed me to express myself
differently,
artistically, because I have that side to me.
Yeah.
In fact, originally I was thinking about maybe going into the Emily Carr School of Art, and my dad he goes, "You're not doing that."
So now you look at a human body as a piece of art.
It's art. It's art, and it's fun, man. Like I come in and when I do aesthetics, it's really, really fun for me. I really enjoy it because you're creating something.
Yeah.
Right, and you get immediate results, and you get immediate feedback from your patient as soon as they're done. They're like, "Wow, oh my God, doc, oh my God, I love it." So I like that. So, I did the traditional thing for a while. It became a little tedious for me. I'll be honest. Yeah. It's hard dealing with chronically ill patients. It's very, very hard. It's a lot of hand holding. You rarely get full compliance because they're set in their ways, and all of a sudden, you tell like an 80-year-old East Indian lady you can't drink your tea every day.
Morning game over.
Or you got to take the sugar out of it. They're like, no.
Don't take the sugar out of an Indian person's diet.
Don't take the sugar out of it, no.
It's completely disaster. I tell my mom that all the time. How much sugar are you putting in your coffees and teas?
So I was like, you're butting heads with your patients, and it wasn't fun for me anymore.
Yeah. So, like, the one thing, obviously, now there's two parts to it. One is like you're working on the inside of their body, then one you're working on the outside of their body. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen like a transition where someone's come to you as a patient in the early days where they're like completely chronically ill, they've actually listened to everything you've said, and then eventually fix the insides, and now they're like, oh, I want to, up my, whether it's their personal like outside behavior, the way they feel of themselves and the way they look at themselves in the mirror. Have you ever seen that transition happen?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at my slogan for Mediworks, it's transform the way you look, feel, and think.
Okay.
Right? So even with our aesthetics patients, we do a lot of work on, like skin health. A lot of it has to do with your internal health, gut health, liver. So we're still doing a lot of core naturopathic principles even with our aesthetic practice, and I think that's what kind of sets us apart as naturopaths doing aesthetics. It's not just you come in, we do Botox, we can actually deal with a lot of other issues.
The whole time?
The whole time, yeah. And in fact, when you come in as a new patient, even an aesthetics patient, you do a full naturopathic health intake. Yeah. And I will go through everything, and patients will be like, well, I came here for Botox. What the hell are you talking to me about my constipation for?
Because most people don't realize that it starts on the inside before the
Absolutely.
outside.
So, some of them are okay. Some of them are like, hey, man, just do my treatment. I'm going to get out of here. Yeah. But a lot of them appreciate the fact that we're going over and above and, dealing with the complete and total picture. Yeah. And then, we do the treatment at the end, and I say, hey, look, you said you ticked off anxiety. This a lot of things we can do for anxiety. These are some things I think you should do. Yeah. So we still, although I am doing aesthetics primarily, probably 90% of my practice is aesthetics and pain management. Yeah. I still am a naturopath, so I still, when I see something on their intake form, I'm not going to ignore it. I still deal with it.
Yeah, you want to make sure that they at least internally feel better for themselves before you can make them look better, because you can make someone look better, but subconsciously and internally they're still hurting.
Exactly.
Part of me launching the Locally Owned series in Vancouver specifically is 2020 has been an interesting year for a lot of people. Whether it's on the business side, and I'll touch on that in a second. But the big thing I think for 2020 for a lot of families and people that are going out there, they've been in a high stress environment. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have lost their jobs. Some people have lost their businesses. From a naturopathic side, what do you suggest people do? Whether it's from a supplement standpoint or whether it's just like basics, like what would you suggest if someone comes to you? They're like, 2020 has completely ruined my life, and I've got internal baggage to deal with it. Like, what is something that from the foundations? How can people kind of just start before they come to see you?
Well, honestly, man, we've had a lot of people call and cancel their appointments that they've booked months ahead of time, because they've lost their jobs, they can't afford the treatment, right? But it's like as far as stress, actually, the funny thing, we're doing a lot of IV drips to help people manage the stress. So we have a blend that we make up. Yeah. It's got some amino acids like glycine and tryptophan in it, basically just to calm patients down.
Yeah.
Then we talk about stress management skills. So we do a lot of counseling. There's supplements we do to build up their adrenal glands. But man, end of the day, you can give them all that stuff, but if at the end, when they go home and they don't have a job, it's really tough to deal with.
I think, and that's for sure. But and at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that have struggled, and you talking about the business side of things, where people have booked appointments, whether it's months in advance and not canceling, is there's still a borderline for them to kind of being able to manage their mental behavior, to just calm that down. They may not be able to get it to a point where it was like whether it was last year or 2 years ago, but at least to kind of keep it on a balanced level a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing that works for me, and I tell everyone to do, is no matter what, no matter how stressed out you are, you gotta get to the gym, you gotta exercise. Yeah. If you don't want to go to the gym for whatever reason, if you're scared of COVID, at least do something. Walk,
get
exercise,
out there, do something.
Get your heart rate up, get those natural endorphins going. Still be mindful of your diet. There's a lot of things that can make your anxiety and stress worse.
Yeah.
Especially if you're having these like highs and lows with your blood sugar all day. Because when you're stressed, what do people go for? They go for sugar.
And I'm pretty sure that's one of the first things that I came in here, like, how stressed are you? I'm like, at probably the max stress levels a human can be back in the day.
So the two things you have ultimate control over is your diet, and then your level of exercise.
And the more people,
we start there. Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say, okay, well, you're stressed, here, take this natural medication.
Yeah.
So how am I different than a medical doctor? So I'm treating the symptom with a natural version of a pharmaceutical, let's say.
That's a good point, yeah.
Right? So then, that's really defeating the whole point of naturopathic medicine, because you want to get to the root cause of it. And if it's the crappy diet that's making them feel even crappier, then you want to change their diet. So we have patients do diet journals for a week, and then we'll look at their diet journal and we'll see, like, we'll just tear it apart and say, look, what the hell, like, why are you eating this in the morning? Why are you going 5 hours in between meals? Yeah. Right? Why are you living off of coffee?
Yeah.
All right, because coffee just makes everyone's anxiety worse, especially if you're prone to it.
Yeah, that was my big issue when I came saw you. It was like 3 energy drinks a day.
Yeah, so diet and lifestyles, like right where we tend to start first. Supplementation, sometimes they need some lab testing done that maybe their family physician doesn't offer, because we do a lot of what's called functional lab testing. Yeah. So we can test your adrenals, we can test for like bacterial overgrowth. There's a lot of different things we can do.
So let's talk about that, because that's what I kind of went through as well. And it's unique, because I've been like, throughout the process of what I didn't realize until I came and saw you, but my even younger days, my mom would take me to naturopaths for just stuff that I dealt with when I was younger. But I'd never gone to a naturopath where I came in, you went through the whole test, and then eventually like, let's go test your vitals. When did you go ever get your blood test done? And you sent me to go get blood test done. I was like 8 or 9 vials out of my arm. But like that gives you a lot of insight to kind of then eventually come back to actually fixing the core problem.
Absolutely. Like for example, if someone comes in with fatigue, wanting an IV, it's easy just to say, all right, we have this energy boosting IV, go ahead, do the energy boosting IV. But if you look at their symptom picture and you look at their history, we do require that, if you can, bring in any blood work you've had done in the past 6 months. Yeah. But if I suspect maybe, the whole reason that they're fatigued is because their iron's low, they're vegetarian or they're female, I'll say, hey, look, before you do an IV, the IV might help, but it might be temporary.
Yeah, it's a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid, right? You should go and get these tests done. But if it's something that I feel is very important for you to do, I will recommend, hey, look, before you get the IV done, these are all the things that you need to get tested for first. Yeah. If you want to get an IV done, you can get an IV done today, but make sure this gets done before you come in for your next IV.
Okay. So now that being said, a lot of the times when people go get their whether they come and get a Band-Aid put together, they go and get that taken care of. Now let's transition to a little bit more on the side of what actually, like you said earlier, one of the things that you enjoy doing the most now is that you like working on people as an art form. What makes you want to do that more? Why should people come and say, out of everything that people can go in Vancouver, why you? Why Vancouver?
Man, I love doing it. I have a passion for it. I'm not the only guy out there that does aesthetics that's well-trained. There's lots of well-trained doctors out there. I think, we built a pretty good reputation with the Mediworks aesthetics brand. Yeah. We're getting a lot of word of mouth. In fact, most of our patients that we're getting are word of mouth patients for aesthetics. People right away, you'll pick up on like, he loves what he's doing, right? And it comes across and patients see it. And then that extra little touch of just asking you about stuff that's not even related to your lip filler or your Botox. Yeah. Like, man, this guy is like
Which is a huge thing. Like I said earlier, it's like when I came to you in 2018, and part of the reason I also want to do this episode for those of you that are watching in Vancouver is like I'm a walking billboard for your work. Like I've sent a ton of people that have come and seen you. I come and buy supplements from you all the time. Some of the stuff that even you've helped my mom with has been phenomenal with her heartburn and stuff. Like just little things. Like I can tell you, it's the constant moving that he's always asking. Whenever you come, how's this? How's that? I walked in here for the first time in like 6 months. First thing you ask, how's your heartburn? Exactly. How's your heartburn? You remember? It's like that's the kind of business owners that we want to be, featuring specifically on Locally Owned here. Now, let's talk about 2020 from a business perspective for you. How has that been?
Pretty much we're shut down for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Although we're an essential service, a lot of what we do involves in-person visits. So obviously you can't do an IV virtually. You can't do any of the aesthetics virtually. You can't do any of the pain management virtually. So if that's like 95% of our practice, I would come in twice a week and just do all my prescription refills, and then I was free the rest of the week. So it was hard because our college put out an email saying that we have to stop all in-person visits. So that essentially shut our business
right overnight.
Completely shut it down. And now that we're allowed in-person visits with the COVID protocols and the way we were doing our bookings before, and we were allowing people to come in groups. Yeah. Can't do any of that. Everyone has to have an assessment done. We recommend you come alone. Don't bring a whole crew with you.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to bring somebody with you, for example, like sometimes you don't have child minding, a mother has to bring their kids with them. That's totally fine, right? But if you can manage to come on your own, come on your own. So it's affected the IV side of things considerably. We got to figure out a way around that.
What about like a mobile IV? Have you guys considered?
With COVID, you can't go to people's houses.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think of that.
No,
that's
you can't.
Point.
So the whole mobile thing's out the window. A lot of people were calling the day of. They wake up and be like, "Hey, man, I feel like I'm coming down with something."
Yeah.
With our COVID assessment, if you feel like you're coming down with something,
you can't come in.
It could be COVID.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed in the office.
Damn. Yeah.
So this time of year, our immune IVs were really popular.
I know many people can.
We can't do an immune IV unless you're doing it preventatively.
Damn, that's crazy. So, an interesting fact. So earlier you mentioned, and when we were talking about it, when you started it, you were kind of doing mini education programs to kind of get people for business. How come you haven't transitioned that into the online space and kind of run like mini online events for people to kind of know and buy things from you from an education standpoint to help factor the other side while you were shut down for 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not too savvy in that world. You are.
Yeah.
I think I got to stay connected with you. Like I lost touch with you. It's been 6 months.
Since we came in.
I got to call you more often and pick your brain more often, right? So I'm like, you know what, man? I've been working pretty much full time for 15 years.
Yeah.
2 months.
Bit of a break.
I need a break.
Enjoyed it?
I enjoyed my break.
Which is not bad too, and it's funny because last year for myself specifically, I spent a lot of time on the road. I was gone every 3 weeks, and this year not being able to travel.
I remember that, yeah. When you first came in, you're traveling quite a bit.
Nuts. It was
Australia, all over the place.
All over the place. Like Europe, all over. And this year not being able to travel kind of made me like take a step back and enjoy life a little bit more. It slowed things down on one end.
That's what I did, man. Honestly, I can't say I hated that 2 months off.
Yeah, you probably enjoyed it. Spent some time
I
with the
enjoyed
kids
it, but
and
then I'm like, man, I started getting a little antsy, and I'm like, man, I got to get back to work. Okay. That's where I belong. Like I belong here.
Yeah.
I need to be doing something.
Well, you've got a purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this and kind of helping people.
Yeah. The good thing about this year has been like we've signed another doctor who's going to be working here. So my ultimate goal is to eventually kind of back off and pursue other things.
Okay.
I have other interests.
Yeah.
Like I want to do other things. Yeah. I don't want to just be a 9-to-5er. Basically, I am a 9-to-5er, actually maybe longer.
Yeah.
Monday to Friday type of guy. So I think that's going to afford me the opportunity to drop my hours down and kind of delegate to them. Okay, you guys take over this thing now.
Which is a huge thing in business, because whenever most people that get started in business, they get started because they're really good at an art. And this is something that I've had this conversation a lot recently with business owners that we've been interviewing on the podcast. Is you're good at something, you end up opening your own business, you end up running your own business, but then you end up buying yourself a full-time job. Technically,
that's exactly what I did.
You bought yourself a full-time job, right? And the big mistake that I see with a lot of business owners when I get started or when they come to us to help scale them is they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm starting to lose the passion for what I got started. I want to run the business, build the business, and I'll get into the day-to-day of it.
You know what? My partner says the same thing to me all the time.
Does he?
Yeah. Make your money work for you and all this other cliche stuff. And he's kind of gotten through to me now. I'm like, man, I can't just be doing this my whole life. there's more to life. I want to do other things. Not that I've lost my passion. I just feel like I'm missing out on a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I mean, 15 years isn't a long time, but
No.
you know.
But you'll burn out at some point doing the same thing over and over. I'm coming up on 13 years in the marketing world.
Day to day, there's always different situations you got to deal with. So there's always all these things. I'm like, oh man, this is not getting any easier. It's getting more complicated. And in fact, the busier you get, the more of these issues come up.
That's true.
And the more moving parts in your business, the more.
But that's when you got to buy yourself the time to work on the business, not in the business, and like delegate as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. So that's why I really want to back off and cut my hours down. And the only way I can do that is having other practitioners in here. So that's kind of what I'm.
Well, that's step one.
Yeah.
Would probably be having somebody else take over the day-to-day. But then step two would also probably potentially be building some sort of an evergreen sales product that can be especially now in the online world. That's kind of what I would probably suggest. Like when it comes from an education standpoint, what do you think the biggest knowledge base that you can educate a larger audience would be?
About naturopathic medicine?
Yeah. Or chronic pain or chronic illness or.
Yeah. So there's a lot of rules and regulations about marketing and what you can promote and how you can promote it.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. It's not as easy as me opening up an online store and saying, hey, I got this product.
But so let's take away the product side for a second. What about from the education side?
Education we can definitely do. That's one thing I'm actually looking into. Education, I've always thought about it. I might even apply to my college to be able to offer my own aesthetics courses and teach naturopaths.
But here's the question. Let's say, for example, people that are dealing with high stress, probably chronic illness now, going into a situation that we are. What if you just came out and just, put yourself in front of a camera, put together a mini course, sold it online, and said, I'm going to run a free online event, which is what a lot of people we can transition, and I can help you put this entire thing together, where you put this free online event, educate the masses on what to do, not how to do it, but then at the end of the free event, whether it's run on Zoom or Google Hangouts or whatever that looks like, on the back end of it, it'd say, hey, I can, over the next 4 to 6 weeks, every single week, I'm going to come on and I'm going to show you how to deal with your stress, how to deal with your weight management, how to deal with your chronic illness, how to deal with pain, and then you sell that for a couple $100. Now you've created an evergreen sales funnel that's gone from having people come here, educating them one-on-one to a group environment.
I think we talked about this before at Starbucks.
That's right. That was a year and a half ago. I forgot about that.
A year and a half ago, you're like, I used to do this.
Yeah.
I probably could have done that during the first lockdown. When if that happens again and I'm off for 2 months, I'm definitely going to do something like that.
Well, you may as well do it now, so you can buy yourself, get your money work for you, right?
Well, the problem is, it's just I'm always just so busy here that when I get home, the last thing I want to do is more work. And plus I don't have the knowledge base to set something like that up. Like, I mean, you do. So obviously, like I said, I got to absorb some information from you on how I can get that platform set up. I don't know the first thing to do it. I have no idea. I would love to.
Let's build this out. Let's build this out.
Let's finally do it, because we've been talking about it forever. So you're obviously super busy. I'm just swamped here. I'm doing all the IVs in between my patients. So I have a full patient load. And in between, I'm plugging people in, taking the IVs out. One
thing actually that I would be keen to sit down with is, because to really break down what I'm talking about from an evergreen sales machine, or whatever you want to call it, an education machine, is it would literally take you, if we committed to doing and shooting the entire thing, I'd say probably 2 days. So if we built out like even something simple, I think that'd be a good education platform, because on the back end of that, what we eventually end up pushing towards is Drip Lounge.
Yeah. And
people go like, so we do the evergreen thing, we even set it up here, record with the background of Drip Lounge, so you continue marketing Drip Lounge in the back end of it, do a pre-recorded webinar, run that through paid advertising. And the thing is, it's all local, so your advertising budget's not going to be much. It's going to be a couple $1,000 a month, and then you just sell an education package, and then eventually that feeds your business for people to come through.
I think that's a great idea, man. I'm just an old school guy who doesn't know about stuff like this. Right, I'm just a workhorse, man.
Yeah.
Just 9 to 5, and whatever you need me to do, I'll do. I just get her done. But I gotta start. You're right, man. I gotta start thinking smarter, because I am feeling like I'm getting burnt out. I'm not gonna say I'm losing my passion. I still love coming to work, but it's becoming a lot of work.
I'm gonna sit and brainstorm a little bit and come up with some ideas on how you guys can think about marketing this for the Drip Lounge that you guys can still use. Obviously, you've got to look at what the rules are, but I'm sure there's a way around everything in today's day and age with marketing and being able to deliver these products.
Yeah, like a guy like you, I can give you all the marketing, the guidelines, the do's and don'ts. I'm sure you could figure out a way to do it, but it's just, there's so many things, and it's just like, man.
And every day is something new.
Yeah, like I've put up posts, and next day my college calls me, hey man, because they're watching my Instagram.
Okay, so let's talk
Take
about
this
that.
down.
Let's talk about that for a second. Because you got such a big governing body that controls what you can and can't say. What are you allowed to do in the marketing world? Like, how are you allowed to market this business if you wanted to?
Well, see, that's another thing. Never mind COVID, and never mind, you know, how that's affected the business. The marketing rules have really affected our business. Like, for example, the drip lounge side of things, we were initially allowed to have a menu of IVs that we could market.
Yeah, you guys used to have it on the counter there.
Yeah. But now that's not allowed, so you can't market any kind of like pre-mixed IV, like, you know, our Superman IV or Flu Fighter IV.
Yeah.
So that's not allowed. You can't market any specials or any deals or any discounts. We're not allowed testimonials on our website. We're not allowed testimonials on our social media.
You're kidding me.
Nope.
So you can't even have social proof of like someone like myself putting myself in front of a camera, willing to do it.
You can put it on your
But I can't.
platform.
I can't give it to you to market it.
You can give a third-party review on Yelp or Google, but I cannot put your testimonial
On your website.
on my website at all, or my social media at all. So I had to go through, like my Facebook's the first thing I set up. I had to go all the way back to the beginning and take down every testimonial that was there.
You're kidding me.
Every single testimonial, yeah. It puts us at a disadvantage because now my competitors, for example, let's say a medical doctor that does aesthetics up the street in White Rock.
Yeah.
Their social media and websites are littered with testimonials.
But
I have none.
They're allowed to do it.
They're allowed to do it.
Because they're a different governing
We're not
body.
allowed to do it. So how can we compete? They're allowed to market a Black Friday special. I can't market a Black Friday special.
So, okay, here's a question. So marketing, there's two parts to it. There's front end and there's back end. On the front end is like social media, running Facebook ads, etc.
Yeah.
Can you do it through like an email list? Like if you were to email them after they've come and bought something from you or entered into your world?
You mean like email them like, hey, next time you come back, there'll be a discount? Yeah. No. I can't even say, hey, thanks for coming in, you know, like a follow-up email. It's for a new patient.
Or like a touch base, hey, it's been 6 weeks since you've come in for IV, why
we hope you enjoyed your visit. Please be, you know, kind enough to leave us a review. We can't ask you to do that. There's a lot of things, we're kind of behind the eight ball. It's become really tough because everything I put up, I'm like, is this in in accordance with the rules? Am I breaking the rules? And I look at something like 50 times, then I hit like post or send or whatever.
That's crazy. So for those of you business owners out there that are sitting here, that come and talk to me, that come and reach out to me from a marketing perspective, who have it easy, and I've built marketing plans for a lot of you guys have seen the marketing content that I've done, go and implement it. He's built the business over the last 15 years, or started 15 years ago, and has built something that is phenomenally well. Is now, I would say, is slowly starting to become a household brand in like the Surrey, South Surrey, White Rock region. You guys are in a phenomenal location here, going to be in a phenomenal location in Burnaby. So it's like, there's no reason to why you cannot be implementing this in your business. Go ahead and implement the things that are going, because if he can do it, there's no reason to why you can't do it. And he's got a governing body that's stopping him from marketing a lot of the things that, in our day and age where business growth and business marketing is so friggin' easy that nothing has stopped you still.
Yeah, so like we put a lot of emphasis on our interactions with patients, making the patient feel like, they're basically they're number one. They're the center of attention when they walk in. We give them a lot of time, a lot of attention. And obviously, if you're good at what you do, a lot of our business is built on word of mouth. Yeah. Still, to this day, it's primarily word of mouth.
It's the old school, tried and true way of doing business. Is word of mouth, referrals, asking for their referral.
Absolutely, and just being kind to patients, being nice to them, communicating with them, being open with them, like being very transparent about pricing and not having them surprised when they go to.
When they show up to pay for a bill or something.
He never explained that to me, right? So we're completely transparent. We have a really good group of people that work in the clinic. Our front desk is really helpful. So we worked hard at getting the right people in here, the right dynamic, the right energy.
And that carries a long way.
Bro, huge. Nobody with attitude is allowed to work here with me.
Yeah. tell us a little bit what are you hoping to see with all the changes in this world and in the business realm for 2021?
Well, I'm hoping to get that evergreen thing done with you.
We'll make sure that happens.
Yeah.
I've got an idea that I'm going to share with them because it's worked in another niche, but yeah.
2021 is probably going to be a lot of the same of 2020.
Yeah.
And just stay the course, and we're trying to work around the rules as best we can. Yeah. I do all of my own social media stuff. Yeah. I think I got to start delegating to somebody.
Let someone else manage it.
Get someone else to manage it. Get another fresh perspective on it, especially with the new clinic opening up. Because there's only so much I can do, and I'll go days, sometimes weeks without posting anything. Just I don't have the time, right? So I got to find someone to do that.
I think consistency on the social media world, even if it's just simple stuff, will probably go a long way for you.
I've been better lately, but I think it's time now to kind of step away from that, give the reins to my social media marketing to somebody else, and let them deal with it. And that way I can just focus on what I'm doing here, building the business.
Where can people find you? Where's the new location? Plug it. Go hard, go ham, because I'll go ham in marketing to help you guys.
Yeah, so our social media is at Mediworks, at the Drip IV. That's Instagram. This location here is on the corner of 132nd and 52. Yeah. 152 and 32nd, sorry, got it wrong. End of the day, low blood sugar. The
new location's coming.
The Burnaby location is coming January of 2021. Yeah. And it's right on Kingsway and the corner of Edmonds and Kingsway.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly where that is. That's at the mall there too, isn't it?
It's a brand new building. I think there's 6 floors of commercial and like 800 condos above it.
Oh, damn. Okay, so
completely brand new building. Yeah.
There'll be a lot of walking traffic from.
Yeah, we're on the main floor facing Kingsway.
That's pretty sweet. So for those of you that are in the Burnaby New West location, go check them out. Even if you're in the surrounding locations, whether it's Delta or Coquitlam, trust me, you're not going to regret going there and seeing them. Go and get an IV. What I'm going to do for this specific episode, for a lot of the other ones, is I've kind of given more of a marketing realm throughout the process, but this one is literally flabbergasting me. So I'm going to give you something post camera, and then we'll implement it over the next 6 months, and then come back and do part 2. So for those of you that are excited to see, I'll share the breakdown on this potentially through email, if you guys are on my email list, on exactly what we did, because I don't want to get him in trouble if anybody sees it. And if you try to get into my email list, I'll know exactly who you are if you're looking at it from the school. But other than that, we'll break this entire sequence down, share with Dr. Badesha what he can do in the marketing world to kind of scale given the governing bodies. And like I said, for those of you that are watching in Vancouver, sitting there crying and saying, oh, my business didn't do X, Y, and Z, well, guess what? There's a lot of content you guys have already watched in the previous episodes and everything else that I've put out. Go and implement it, because this honestly makes me realize like a lot of businesses that should have done more, that could have done more, he's a prime example as to why you still can do more and not even have anything controlling you. As you guys saw in this episode of Locally Owned, we got to interview Dr. Navi Badesha. It was a phenomenal interview. We talked about some of the crazy things that are going on in this pandemic. We found out that his business, you can't even market. Like, you cannot do any marketing because they're controlled by such a big board and things that are going on. So for all of you that have come through, whether I've interviewed you on Locally Owned or you're watching this because you're enjoying the series and want to just learn how to market your businesses locally, use what we share in all of these episodes, implement them in your businesses, because if he can do it, he can survive and have a phenomenal, thriving business post-pandemic. Doesn't matter what happens. There's no reason to why you can't. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Really, if you're in Vancouver, like I said, I trust him more than anything. Come on out. Literally book an appointment with him, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.